The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the sixth episode of the SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. You know, it's a great time of year, ladies and gentlemen. Not for sports, but in general. Spring. My second favorite season is spring. It's 7:30 over here in Midlothian, Virginia, and the sun's still, I guess it's still technically up, even though the skies are dark. There's still sun out there. Don't you just love that? Favorite time of the year is spring. Well, favorite time of year is summer because the sun's up till 9 o'clock and you can go hang out. It could be 7 o'clock and you're still out in the pool swimming. Plus, it's my birthday. Birthday is in July. Can't wait for that. A couple months away, but let's jump right into everything here. And we start off with yesterday's breaking news. There it is. Are headed to Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, they will move for a couple of years. They'll spend 2017 and 2018 in Oakland. But after that, they are headed to Sin City. And I don't like it. I am not a fan of the Raiders moving to Las Vegas. Vegas is not a sports town. People barely watch their minor league games. People barely go to their minor league games in Vegas. People don't go to Vegas for sports, ladies and gentlemen. They go to Vegas to gamble. They go to Vegas to drink. Lots of tourists in Vegas, and you think they're going to come to watch the Raiders play? No. I may be stereotyping here a little bit right here. But usually when people go to Vegas, Saturday night they go out to drink, and they drink a lot. Or they gamble a lot. They wake up the next morning, they don't remember a thing. Hungover, but maybe even. You think they're going to go watch our Oakland Raiders football game at 1:05 their time? I don't think so. And you know, I really feel bad for the players of Oakland because on Twitter yesterday, Derek Carr put out a heartfelt message that he was hurt for the Oakland fans. I mean, I'm hurt for the Oakland fans. The Raiders were the best thing they had. It still is the best thing they have, even though the Warriors are having a couple of great season success. We'll get to that in a second. You gotta feel bad for the Oakland fans. They're losing the best thing they ever had. They're losing the best thing they ever had in the Raiders. Raiders won 3 Super Bowls. No, they didn't win 3 Super Bowls in Oakland. They've had pretty good success in Oakland. Fans love them. And now, they're just up. Okay, we're leaving now. Give them a couple more years. We're gone. Time to go. It's not fair to the fans. And that's why Stephen Ross, I actually have a quote from Stephen Ross. Because the Dolphins were the lone team not to vote for the Raiders to go to Las Vegas. It was a 31-1 vote. The Dolphins are the only team to vote against the Raiders to go to Vegas. And here's a quote that I found from Dolphins owner Stephen Ross on why he decided to go against Oakland, or the Raiders, I should say, move to Las Vegas. My position yesterday, was that we as owners and as a league owe it to the fans to do everything we can to stay in the communities that have supported us until all options have been exhausted. Until all options have been exhausted. I don't really see where an option for the Raiders to move was exhausted. Or for them to stay, whatever you may be. I don't see it. I think they should stay in Oakland. They should have stayed in Oakland. They're not going to. They're going to Las Vegas. But I don't move. I feel like the Raiders brand in Las Vegas is not going to be it's definitely not going to be as famous as the one that's in Oakland. Because in Oakland, you got nothing else to do but watch Raiders games. So they're making pretty good money with the Raiders where fans come to crowding the Coliseum watching games. There's crowding stadiums. Now, when they move to Las Vegas, it's not going to be as pretty. This can be like the Falcons-Rams game late last season. when the Rams play the Falcons in Los Angeles. That stadium was empty. That's pretty much going to be every Oakland Raiders home game. It's going to be pretty much empty. There's not going to be much Raiders fans. There's not going to be much sports fans in Las Vegas. They're going to be out gambling. They're going to be out partying. They're not going to go watch a Raiders game. Oh, wow, this is bad for Oakland. You got to feel even worse for... Oh, wait, no. Let me scratch that. Let me say that again. As much as bad as for the Raiders in the NFL, because I feel like they're going to lose money on this deal. Ticket sales and all that other stuff. You got to feel bad for Oakland. It's one of the worst. When the Raiders leave in 2 years' time, it's going to be one of the saddest sports cities in America. Because what do you have? The Warriors aren't going to be the same team in 2 years. And forget about the Athletics. They're hot garbage. Absolute hot garbage. That's all you got, Oakland. After the Raiders leave, that's all you got. You got the hot garbage Athletics, and you got the Warriors, who are on the decline right now. And when you compare them to others, when you compare it to like other sad cities in sports, Atlanta, they lost their hockey team. It was so bad. The Falcons just blew. Oh, by the way, happy 3-28. The Falcons blew a 8-3 lead in the Super Bowl. In case you didn't know about that. The Braves are garbage. Worst team in the league last year, outside of San Diego. It's bad. And then they're in San Diego. They just lost their football team. So pretty much Oakland is becoming San Diego. Sad sports team with nice weather. Oakland is going in 2 years. Oakland will be San Diego. Well, yeah, they will be the equivalent of San Diego. Because now the Chargers are out of San Diego. They're in Los Angeles. So now what does San Diego have? The Padres? That's it. All they have is the Padres. The Padres are the worst team in baseball. They're the only team in baseball history that never won a World Series. And we'll get to that point later in the show. Worst team ever. So I don't like. All in all, I don't like the move for the Raiders. I don't like it at all because Vegas is a sports town. Not much people are going to go to Raiders games. I feel the same about the Golden Knights, the new hockey team that are in Vegas. Hockey is mainly played at night. And why are people in Vegas at night? Casinos, bars, not at the T-Mobile Arena watching hockey. I don't understand it, but best of luck to them. Best of luck to the Raiders. In 2 years' time, best of luck to Golden Knights. They start their play in October. Their first season in the NHL is in October. Best of luck to them. I just don't. I'm not a fan of it at all. What I am a fan of, though, is the Yankees. They've been very impressive with this baseball season. They say, I know, it's just spring training. Yeah, but look at what they're doing. They're killing it. They're just doing very well. I have not seen this brand of Yankees baseball since 2009 when they won the World Series. I have not seen it. You would think, A-Rod's gone, Jeter's gone, Mariano Rivera's gone. It seems like this is the Yankees' year. This might be the Yankees' year. I know it's only spring training, but based off what I've seen, Greg Bird and a few other players who I can bring up right now. Greg Bird, Gary Sanchez, Jacoby Ellsbury is a good vet. They have Brent Gardner, and they just got Matt Holliday. It's looking good for the Yankees right now, their rotation. And like I said, this could be the year they win the AL East. I would like to see them win the AL East this year. Because when you look at the competition, it looks like they could pull it off. Baltimore, their best pitcher last year had a 3.7 ERA. That's not very good for baseball. He led the team with 11 wins. He also had 10 losses last year. I don't know his name, but I looked this up yesterday. 10 losses last year, led the team in wins. He also led in losses. 3.7 ERA. Then you look at Boston. Dave Ortiz is gone. Who do they have now? Mookie Betts. He's not going to be able to carry this team on his back. Then you have David Price is banged up, so he might miss some time to start the season. So it's Mookie Betts and it's Chris Sale. That's all the Red Sox have. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. I mean, there's not much more to say about the Rays than they're the Rays. I believe they saw a pitcher, Chris Archer, who lost 10 straight games last year. Literally, lost 10 straight starts last year for the Rays. You got players like that, you're not going to be doing too well. It's going to be a while. The Rays are rebuilding. It's going to be a while for them to get back to where they were back in like 2012 when they won the AL East. It's going to be a while. Now, I can't really say anything about Toronto, though. I like what I see from Toronto. And I feel like the Blue Jays will be the biggest threat to the Yankees when it comes to the AL East crown. It would be awesome. Like, I remember story time right here. Back when I just mentioned about the Rays winning the AL East in 2012, I remember being at a pizzeria in Bloomfield, New Jersey in 2012, watching the Rays play the Yankees in Tampa. I believe the Yankees had a big lead in the AL East. And then it shrunk and the Rays were catching up. And I remember Fernando Rodney's his name. He's a pitcher. He struck out a Yankees guy, and the Rays won the game. And just like that, they were tied. The Yankees and Rays were tied atop the AL East. I would love to see something like that in 2017. Because we all know baseball is getting more and more boring. Even though they're trying to fix it up, it's just not. I don't believe it's working too well. But Toronto, I feel Toronto will be the biggest threat to the Yankees when it comes to the AL East title. Jose Bautista's on their team. He is their team. He's the best player in that team right there. I am a big fan of Jose Bautista. Josh Donaldson was up for MVP a few years back. I believe it was in 2015. They were in the ALCS. Josh Donaldson was up for AL MVP. Or maybe he won MVP. I'm not too sure. But Josh Donaldson was a big name in Toronto. He still is. He's still with them. And that's Troy Tulowitzki, he's been great his whole career. Colorado or Toronto, doesn't matter where he is. He's been great his whole career. And I feel like not only will it be the biggest threat, this is going to be very close with Toronto and the Yankees. Last year, I looked this up yesterday, the Yankees and Blue Jays. The Blue Jays beat the Yankees 12 and 19 times, so 12-7. And that was a very bad season for New York, the Yankees. A real bad season. And they finished 7-12 against the Blue Jays last year. Based on what I'm seeing in spring training now, the Blue Jays meet 19 times this year. The Yankees and Blue Jays. It could be a 10-9 series. Game 163. Blue Jays Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Decide who wins the AL East and goes to the playoffs. How awesome would that be? That would be absolutely. That would just be awesome. So let's root for that right there. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm not using any fandom or anything, but I'm rooting for my Yankees this year. It's not been easy. Root for the Yankees past couple of years, but this year I'm very confident in what I see and what I think they can do. I'm very confident. I'm liking what I'm seeing. So it's good to have you in. SCU Show, Episode 6. I'm your host, SCU. Big things coming this week. We have This Week in the AFL. We record that show this coming Thursday. You can join me. Joran Palacio will be joining us, by the way, 8:20. He's my co-host for the season. He'll be on the show on Thursday, as well another colleague of mine, Eric Watkins. He'll be joining us for the preview show. We got, if you follow Read Football, you'll want to listen to this podcast. We got the biggest names in Read Football coming on the show. Joe Hills, of the Tampa Bay Storm, former Jacksonville Shark. Colin Taylor, all-arena wide receiver for the Cleveland Gladiators. Mike Washington, former Arizona Rattler great, now with the Washington Valor. One of two expansion teams. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are too. This week in the AFL, this Thursday on W2Mnet.com. By the way, you can listen to this podcast also on W2Mnet.com. Props to Sean Garmer and crew for hosting us on their network. In about 5 minutes, we're going to have, and I am very bad with last names, so you'll have to forgive me for this one, Mario Tovar. Pretty sure I said that wrong. I'm going to ask him when he comes on in about 5 minutes. Mario Tovar, founder of TheRaiderRamble.com. How he feels about the Raiders moving to Las Vegas. I don't like it. Vegas is a sports town. Vegas is not a sports town. Excuse me. Vegas is not a sports town. And I feel terrible for the Raiders fans. I feel pretty bad for the Raiders fans. Last year felt like something was clicking. Felt like the Raiders could become a dynasty in Oakland. Derek Carr, Mark Cooper, Michael Crabtree, Khalil Mack, all these players. This team was great. Of course, then Derek Carr broke his leg and they lost to Brock Osweiler in the playoffs. That's the point. They were looking like the second best team in the AFC last year. Had they been able to beat Brock Osweiler, they would have gone to New England. They would have probably lost to New England, but that would have shown that they are just one step closer to competing and possibly beating New England and getting to that next step in the Super Bowl. And for the next 2 years, I'm hoping either next year or the year after the Raiders win the Super Bowl. They have to win a title before they leave Oakland. It would be really sad if they didn't. Now, let me just clarify. I am not saying the Raiders will not succeed in Las Vegas. I mean, it doesn't matter where the Raiders play. It doesn't matter. Oakland's going to be a great team. I said this last week. They're missing a running back and they're missing a couple of guys on defense. And they're headed somewhere. It's going to be great. Next year, they're going to compete. They're going to be great next year. I'm glad we get to see them in 2 more years in Oakland. So we don't have to worry especially Raiders fans, they don't have to worry too much about, oh, my team is gone. I mean, we have 2 more years in Oakland. I feel like they're going to be 2 really good years. Hopefully one of those years ends in a Super Bowl victory. I would love to see that. So like I said, founder of RaiderRamble.com, Mario Tovar, Tovar, probably said that wrong, joins us in about 3 minutes. We'll go to commercial. And when we come back, Mario Tovar will join us here on the SCU Show.
Hello to all you Arena League football fans out there. I want to personally welcome you to join us, AFL Fan Zone, every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a weekly recap of all things AFL. You got stuff to do on the weekends, which means you probably don't have time to sit down and watch every single game every week. That's where AFL Fan Zone comes in. Not only do we break down the week, but we provide you with everything you need to stay up to date with the AFL, including Players of the Week, Power Rankings, and the weekly standings. Best part is, the recap is fully interactive between the viewers and the host. Just search AFL Fan Zone on YouTube and you can find all of our archived videos, including game previews, recaps, and weekly updates. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and at our website at www.aflfanzone.com. AFL Fan Zone, your internet home for the best AFL fans.
Hi, I'm Donovan James, and welcome to the Don James High School Football Report, everybody, where we discuss and debate the hottest prep and college football recruiting topics in the country every week. Only here on NGSC Sports, 9:30 Eastern. For more, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports.
It's game time, boys, and we know football. Football the Max is the podcast for you if you want in-depth analysis over the NFL and college football. We preview all the action coming your way over the weekend. And we break down all the big action after it's happened. Plus, we tackle all the big news topics and discuss everything when it comes to the gridiron. So come check out Football to the Max every Tuesday morning and Friday morning on the W2M network.
Are you an arena football fan looking for the latest news involving your team? Inside the Arena has you covered. Check us out for the latest news around both the Arena Football League and the Chinese Arena Football League. Read all of our stellar articles at InsideTheArena.org. Also, follow us on Twitter at Inside_Arena and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/InsideTheArena.
Welcome back to SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. Well, Mario Tovar will join us in about 5 minutes. He has to wrap up his job, his work, or whatever he has to do. So we'll talk a little bit more about some NFL stuff. The draft's coming up in about a month. Very excited for that. I believe that Myles Garrett will be the first overall pick to the Cleveland Browns. And I said this when I talked about free agency stuff. The Bears and Niners, a bunch of losers. They lost in free agency, and they're losing. And they hold the second overall pick and the third overall pick. The Niners have second, the Bears have third. I hope they make the most of it. They need to make the most of it. The Niners need a quarterback. They're letting Colin Kaepernick go, and their quarterbacks are Brian Hoyer. I don't even remember the second guy. And the Bears have Mike Glennon. God. Yeah, I don't know if it can get any worse than that. I don't. I would love for Chicago. I said this 2 weeks ago. A couple weeks ago. I would love Chicago to get Deshaun Watson. Perfect fit. Especially, and it sort of helps that Watson is a running quarterback, kind of like Manziel, Michael Vick work, because the Bears don't have that good receiver. Kevin White's always injured. Alshon Jeffrey's in Philadelphia now. The Bears get Deshaun Watson, they have a good chance of competing. Of course, it wouldn't help to not get a wide receiver. I think they should get a wide receiver late in the draft, maybe, because I'll talk about this later in the month. When we get close to the draft. If you want to succeed, you want to be successful, go later in the draft. Go later. And while and also the biggest need for Chicago is a quarterback. So I would go quarterback at number 3 for Chicago, and then get us all excited about their quarterback competition with the OTAs and training camp, and then who's going to start for Chicago Bears? obviously, if they do pick Deshaun Watson, Deshaun should be the clear-cut winner, in my book. But you don't win quarterback competitions off favoritism. Kind of like you don't have your schedule. A manager should not make a schedule based on favoritism. It should make it off performance. So if Deshaun Watson wants to win the starting job with any NFL team, he has to earn it. Kind of like Dak did for Dallas last season. He had to earn the job. It wasn't just given to him because Tyrone got hurt. He was still a third-string quarterback. He could have lost to Kellen Moore. That was still possible. Wasn't Kellen Moore. It was Mark Sanchez. Kellen Moore broke his leg. So that could have been even worse. That could have been back up to Mark Sanchez. Ouch. Mark Sanchez. But Deshaun Watson. Chicago, perfect fit. As for San Francisco, I love seeing. I don't like Mitchell Trubisky much like Deshaun Watson, but something tells me that Mitchell Trubisky would be a perfect fit for San Francisco. I think of that. I think of Mitchell Trubisky. I think of San Francisco 49ers, and I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see Mitchell Trubisky in San Francisco. I feel like he would do good things there. Same deal in Chicago. Need some of my receivers and whatnot. I would like to see it though. I would love to see that. But my favorite quarterback in the draft is Patrick Mahomes. I love Patrick Mahomes. Best quarterback in the draft, if you ask me. Best quarterback in the draft. I would love to see Patrick Mahomes go to Dallas, but we all know that's not happening. I mean, they have Dak Prescott. They don't really need him. And now joining us from California, Mario. Tell me, I'm pretty sure I'm saying your last name wrong. Mario Tovar.
No, you actually got it right, man.
It's Tovar.
Tovar.
Okay. Founder of RaiderRamble.com. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. So I want to start off. Of course, we have to talk about the Raiders because you're there. You cover them. You have your own website dedicated to Oakland, or the Raiders, I should say. So yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, the news broke that they were to Los Angeles, 31-1 vote. What was your reaction when you found out that your Raiders are moving to Las Vegas?
It becomes such a oversaturated, news story. At first, it doesn't sink in right away. Being from SoCal, I grew up a Los Angeles Raiders fan. So to me, it was more of like, oh, okay, Raiders moved. It would have been no different had they moved to San Antonio, as the rumors were, or even LA. But I do feel for the Oakland fans. You can tell just from the reactions on social media, the news, things like that. You feel bad for those fans up there in NorCal.
Now, you mentioned that all over Twitter and social media that you got to kind of feel bad for these fans and stuff. When I saw that note from Derek Carr, he's saying he has all these different emotions. I felt bad for him. And then I believe it was Bruce Irvin who quote tweeted him. Might have been somebody else. Khalil Mack, maybe it was Khalil Mack. That quote tweeted him, said, I don't know how to feel, so I'm just going to quote tweet this. Do you feel bad for these players?
I do feel bad, especially. Derek Carr is a great example. He's from that area. He's a local kid. Jack Del Rio, another great example. He's a local kid. You do feel for them, But at the end of the day, it's more about the fans. I think these are professional athletes. It's not the same as for the fans, but I mean, you do feel bad for everyone in this situation, especially since this is a lot of what's a good way of saying it? It was a lot of politics were involved, things like that. So a lot of this was out of their hands. A lot of out of the hands of a lot of these fans and a lot of these players. It was above them.
And you mentioned the fans. How I've said that I hope for the next 2 years that the Oakland fans stay true to their team and be like, oh, we're gonna miss you, all that stuff. Not like where LeBron left Miami or he left Cleveland and they burned their jersey. I don't want to see any of that in Oakland. How do you feel the fans are going to react next season?
Well, the Raiders, they've always identified with Oakland, for the blue collarness, that gritty attitude, that gritty, that image of the Raiders of Al Davis. Even when they were down here in LA, they never quite really fit in with the glitz and the glamour of Los Angeles. I mean, that's one of the reasons why supposedly Al Davis didn't like, Marcus Allen. He was becoming a star because that's not what the Raiders are about. It was always blue collar. And, I really do think they're going to stay classy. I don't know if you're familiar, for example, when the Browns left, the last game over there in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, they tore apart the stadium. I don't really see them doing that to the Coliseum. I would hope not, as it is. Raider Nation is one of the most polarizing fan bases in the NFL. It just seems like either everyone, and I mean everyone as in like the media, fans, it's either you love them or you hate them, Oh, yeah. So hopefully they stay classy, I really do hope they do.
Yeah, so I do too. Mario Tovar, founder of RaiderRamble.com, contributor to Just Blog Baby, the Raiders fan-sided blog, joining us here on the SCU Show. I don't like the move to Vegas. I feel like Vegas is a town where people go to gamble and drink, not to watch sports. How do you feel about the move?
Well, I think in that regards, as far as the Las Vegas, it was about the money. I really do think. I don't know what's going to happen to the team long term, and people were already calling for Mark Davis's head, as I'm sure you can see on social media. But yeah, it's not really. You don't really think of Las Vegas as a sports town, even though. I mean, UNLV, the college basketball team had that great run, in the '90s. I'm sure everyone remembers that. But other than that, they're not really known as a sports team. But we'll see. I mean, hockey's going to be there, so we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the hockey being there either. But again, like you said, we'll see what happens. Maybe. I feel like it's gonna be a lot of tourists, and they're not gonna want to go ahead and watch a Raiders game or a Golden Knights game. There'll be more tourists there, but like you said, we'll see. We'll certainly see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
So, do you live anywhere near Oakland?
No, actually, no. Like I said, I am actually based out of San Bernardino, California. Growing up, though, my family, they were huge Raider fans. That was during the time when they were still down here in LA, And by the time I got into football, late 90s, the Raiders were starting to go downhill. And the situation with Al Davis in the NFL, that's when it started to, come to a head and all the lawsuits. And he decided to just basically take the team and head back up north.
How far is San Bernardino from Oakland?
Let me see. Last time I drove up there, probably 7-8 hours.
Wow, that's a long drive. So I assume you won't be going to any Raiders games over the next 2 seasons?
Probably not, but you know what? Now that this decision is final, I would love to. Want the situation like in Cleveland, tearing apart the Coliseum, but I seriously thought that's going to happen.
Mario Tovar, sorry if I'm saying the name wrong, founder of the RaidersRamble.com, joining us. Are you going to be a fan of Oakland when they leave in 2019? I mean, of the Raiders, I should say.
Oh, yeah, and I think, of course, the Raiders, of course. It just goes back to a sense that the Raiders are just a worldwide the fan base identifies itself with the team, and LA, San Antonio, whatever, even San Diego. I know for a while there was rumors of them actually doing that, but of course, I think most fans, of course, there's going to be a lot of angry native fans that are probably going to give up on the team, but for the most part, I think most of us will remain loyal to the team.
So let's forget about the whole Vegas deal. Let's talk about 2017. I think I've been saying this for a couple weeks now. I feel like the Raiders are the biggest threat to New England for the AFC title. There's just a few things missing. That's the running back. They got rid of Latavius Murray, and the defense. So now here's the thing here with the running backs. pretty much it's the biggest fan favorites are Adrian Peterson and Marshawn Lynch. Which if let's say you had a choice between one of the two, which would you rather have on the Raiders?
If it were up to me, Marshawn Lynch, for a couple reasons. The biggest reason is probably being the fact that he hasn't played in a year, so you would assume that he's taking care of himself, right? Stayed in shape, and that his body is in relatively injury free, so he's refreshed, he's ready to go. Maybe I think it would make it special just because they are leaving Oakland. He's from Oakland native. It would just make it special, finish his career in silver and black. That would, and Adrian Peterson, I mean, the injuries and the public image, I think a lot of it, with the whole child abuse and all that drama that came with that. Now, I mean, do you really want that? It's sort of the reason you can compare it to Ray Rice. No one ever gave him a shot again after all that, after the whole domestic dispute. So just from all these angles, yeah, definitely Marshawn Lynch has the biggest upside. He's a Super Bowl champion. That's what the Raiders were trying to get at. That's what you want, That's what you're looking for.
Right. Do you follow the draft much?
Yeah, I've been following the draft and whatnot.
So I feel like Oakland needs to spice up the defense. Where do you think the biggest concern is in the draft?
Well, the popular pick right now is probably to go inside linebacker or outside, secondary. But just the other day, I was able to publish a mock draft on the Fansided Network, where it got a lot of good reviews. Where I suggested they might take actually Bowles out of Utah, the offensive tackle.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Just because people seem to forget, yes, the offensive line has been dominant the last 2 seasons, but the right side has basically been run by committee, and Donald Penn realistically only has 1 or 2 more years of being that, elite, left tackle. So there's still some long-term issues there, and you can tell the draft it's really deep defensively. Why not, try to secure a cornerstone in the first round and then use the rest of the draft for depth, especially at defense, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think that they should definitely go on for defensive side and definitely in the first round. It would help for them to compete with New England come next season. But that
yeah, that's true. I agree with it. Yeah.
So that's Mario Tovar, founder of the RaiderRamble.com. Check out his latest article on justblogbaby.com. An Oakland Raiders fan-sided network. One more question. This is a funny question for you before we let you go. Were you a fan of Chris Berman? He just recently retired from ESPN.
Yes, yeah.
So did you ever hear him say, Darius? Did you like that? That's one thing I'm going to miss about Chris Berman, is saying, Darius.
That's probably the one thing that I think the fans miss. And it's a shame that he decided to retire just as the team was getting great again, where there's probably going to be a lot of highlights. The last 14 years, 15 years, the team was a doormat. So, we missed out on a lot of that. So it's unfortunately retired just as the team is getting back on top.
That's Mario Tovar, founder of the RaiderRound.com. Hey, man, thanks much for coming on the show and taking time to talk with us.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Got it. So he pretty much agrees with me right there. Mario Tovar, founder of the RaiderRamble.com, contributed to Last Word on Sports, by the way. Somewhere Sean and I both work at. Small world. I didn't know it. I hit up the editor of Just Blog Baby to see. I asked him to come on, but he couldn't, so I asked him to find a writer for me. And he gave me Mario. Mario spit some good stuff out right there. But yeah, Oakland needs secondary. Like you said, that Bowles guy from Utah, I've heard of him. Sounds like he would be a good choice. I would like to see that. But and Marshawn Lynch, I would assume, Marshawn Lynch probably working out. He's not needing too much skills. Coming up next, though, my buddy, my pal, my co-host of This Week in AFL, Joran Palacio, joins us next SCU Show.
Hello to all you Arena League football fans out there. I want to personally welcome you to join us, AFL Fan Zone, every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a weekly recap of all things AFL. You got stuff to do on the weekends, which means you probably don't have time to sit down and watch every single game every week. That's where AFL Fan Zone comes in. Not only do we break down the week, but we provide you with everything you need to stay up to date with the AFL, including Players of the Week, Power Rankings, and the weekly standings. Best part is, the recap is fully interactive between the viewers and the host. Just search AFL Fan Zone on YouTube and you can find all of our archived videos, including game previews, recaps, and weekly updates. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and at our website at www.aflfanzone.com. AFL Fan Zone, your internet home for the best AFL fans.
Hi, I'm Donovan James, and welcome to the Don James High School Football Report, everybody, where we discuss and debate the hottest prep and college football recruiting topics in the country every week. Only here on NGSC Sports, 9:30 Eastern. For more, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports.
It's game time, boys, and we know football. Football the Max is the podcast for you if you want in-depth analysis over the NFL and college football. We preview all the action coming your way over the weekend. And we break down all the big action after it's happened. Plus, we tackle all the big news topics and discuss everything when it comes to the gridiron. So come check out Football to the Max every Tuesday morning and Friday morning on the W2M network.
Are you an Arena football fan looking for the latest news involving your team? Inside the Arena has you covered. Check us out for the latest news around both the Arena Football League and the Chinese Arena Football League. Read all of our stellar articles at InsideTheArena.org. Also, follow us on Twitter at Inside_Arena and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/InsideTheArena.
Let's bring him on, Joran Palacio, my buddy, my pal, my co-host of This Week in AFL, season premiere this Thursday, only on W2Net.com. What's going on, man?
Not much. Glad to be on, man. Steven, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. So let's go into this whole Raiders thing.
Yeah.
Do you have any feeling towards that? Like, what was your reaction when you found out that they're moving to Vegas?
Well, there's two sides to this thing. For the Oakland fans, it sucks, obviously, as it would, just like how all the St. Louis fans last season got kind of left and hung out to dry. But they're moving on to a new beginning, and the biggest thing with the Raiders, especially in recent years, was until his passing, of course. As long as Al Davis is in control of the Raiders, the whole belief was they're never going to win again. So Al Davis has passed away for a couple years now. It's been, but this whole leaving Oakland, I think this is kind of a new beginning for this Raider teams. And we've already kind of seen the beginnings, or the new beginnings, I should say, of this Oakland team making the playoffs for the first time this past year. And I don't know how long. It seemed like forever since the Raiders have been in the playoffs. So I think this move to Vegas is just kind of cementing their brand new kind of like reputation, like trying to rebrand themselves. And I think it's going to pay off for them. We've been talking that the Raiders are probably one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the AFC going into this season. So I think getting out of Oakland is kind of almost like a rebranding move to where they kind of break out of that old shell, that old reputation of, our motto is all we do is win, but, it's quite the opposite. So now they kind of can turn into that powerhouse in the AFC West. So I think for Oakland fans, obviously, like I said, it sucks. But I think it's going to turn out and pay dividends for them in the end.
So you feel like them moving to Vegas would be better for the team?
I don't know better for the team. I think it'd be better for the organization. I'm talking like the front office. I think it's a better chance for them because, especially if they win. Now, this whole theory is dependent on them winning and then being able to maintain the success that they had this past year. That being said, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, man.
Okay. Like I was just saying, this whole theory is just off of them winning and off of them building off the success that they had this past year. I think that it's a good chance for them to re-identify themselves and to get past this Oakland. We lose. For a long time, Oakland was just as sorry as Cleveland is now. They're at that same level. Now they're kind of starting to build themselves out of it. And I think this move to Las Vegas can help them. I don't know, like I said, rebrand themselves, get them into a new environment, a lot bigger fan base. I think they have the opportunity to if they can tap into that Vegas market.
I find it interesting. You say that you feel like you have a feeling it's going to be a bigger fan base in Vegas. I don't think them moving to Vegas works out too well because I feel like Vegas is not a sports town. Like people go to Vegas, they go to drink, they go to gamble.
Right.
Nobody goes to watch Raiders games. So I'm just to figure out why do you think that Vegas will have a bigger fan base for the Raiders?
I think if they can tap into it, I think it has the opportunity to because Las Vegas, when it comes to sports, not necessarily watching sports, but it's one of the sports meccas in the world. I mean, I don't live in Vegas. I got a buddy who does, and he was telling me that these past couple weeks, March Madness, absolute madness going down on the Strip, as you'd imagine, with all the casinos there. So I think if they can win, and winning's the biggest part because that's how you attract new people. I mean, we've seen teams you mentioned this week in the AFL. The Las Vegas Outlaws was an arena football team.
Oh, yeah, I remember
there,
that.
and they lasted a whole year. So, but that team wasn't very good either. So I think if they can win, people will come. If you build it, people will come, and if they can build wins and build this reputation of success, I don't see how people don't come and don't support the Raiders.
That's just interesting. I didn't know you had a buddy in Vegas. Oh, yeah, I didn't know you had a buddy in Vegas. I didn't know that they were that big into sports. You know, you're saying that they're very big into college basketball down the Strip. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I got a buddy who goes to college at UNLV.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I mean, he kind of got in on it himself. I mean, the whole gambling, betting on. I mean, it's just the last couple weeks with March Madness, and he says March Madness around this time of year in Vegas is always pretty crazy. Anyway, but yeah, if they can turn that into a fall thing, then I think the Raiders have a chance to be pretty huge.
Wow. Now I'm a little more excited to see them go to Vegas and see how. I'm feeling the Raiders are not going to fail in Vegas. I just don't like the fact that they're going to a non-sports town. But hey, if these fans like college basketball, I'm pretty sure the NFL will probably just be that much better for them down up there in Sin City. But moving on from this, Joran Palacio, buddy of mine, co-host of This Week in AFL, joining us here on the SCU Show. I said earlier that if the Raiders gone out of Oakland and the Warriors eventually declining because Steph Curry's off his game, and I just have a feeling the Warriors are going down the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. Oakland's going to be one of the saddest cities in America. All it has is the A's or hot garbage, and then they'll have the bad Warriors.
Yeah.
So then you compare them to like Atlanta, who, by the way, happy 328. The Falcons blew a 28-3 lead. That's the running joke for today.
Yeah.
You have San Diego, who lost their football team. The Padres are now hot garbage, and that's all they have. And unfortunately for you, the teams down there in Arizona, the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, not too well either. Could you think of another sad sports city?
Oh man, well. I was gonna say the typical one to say is Cleveland, but I mean you got the Cavaliers. You got the Cavaliers who just won an NBA Finals. You had the Indians who were a few outs away from winning a World Series. So Cleveland was gonna be my first guess, but they kind of turned. I mean, let's not talk about the Browns; they don't exist. But the other two sports are looking pretty well. Carolina, like the Carolina Hurricanes in hockey and the Panthers this past year were not.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Panthers anymore. I mean, Cam Newton would one good year, I feel, and then I think that the Panthers are pretty much falling off the rock.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think as a whole, when you look at I'm trying to think off the top of my head here, the state of California, when it comes to sports, has not produced anything, at least at the professional. I mean, you have the Dodgers.
Yeah, but they're not that good. They weren't that good last year.
Off the top of my head, the California teams. I'm not thinking of any California teams because you had the Rams, the Chargers. The only team to lose to the Browns this year. The 49ers, the Giants, which I guess the Giants made the playoffs this past year and lost to the eventual champion Cubs.
Yeah, that's right.
I think I don't know. They put up a pretty close race for Arizona. As we have the most sports teams but we have the most sports teams that aren't doing a whole lot right now.
Yeah, you took that question to a whole new level. I love that. This is why I bring you on my shows, and this is why we're co-hosts and all this stuff. You bring it to another level. You said, forget a status sports city. The California status sports state. I love that. Joran Palacio is joining us. A colleague of mine, a colleague of Sean's, Lenny Letcher, I believe his name is, over at LastWarrantSports.com, wrote an article about why your Cardinals should draft Deshaun Watson. Let's talk a little bit about that. How do you feel? Would you like to see Deshaun Watson go 13 to Arizona?
I've been researching a lot of the draft, but a lot of the mock drafts have Deshaun Jackson as well. I've been kind of on Deshaun. Did I say Deshaun Jackson? I meant to say Deshaun Watson. Sorry. Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that'd probably be good to clarify. Watson, I think he's got the build, I think, to be a very good quarterback. He reminds me of Cam Newton, although you just said Cam Newton has had one or two good seasons.
Yeah, about 1 or 2, yeah.
I don't know. Bruce Arians has been billed as this quarterback guru, and with this likely being Carson Palmer's last year and Larry Fitzgerald's last year, the Cardinals need something new. So I've seen a lot of Mike Williams. I've seen a lot of Deshaun Watson. So I guess we're drafting somebody from Clemson. I guess that's just the plan. But I think I'd rather see Deshaun Watson just to give the fan base, just to give us something, like some type of surge, like because the last quarterback we signed Drew Stanton, our backup, to an extension.
Oh my God!
Off season, there has not been a whole influx. I mean, the biggest influx of new players, for the most part, of young players, has been the draft, obviously, and not many of the last great draft pick, the last great Steve Keim draft pick was David Johnson.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and he's had picks like this is. If we're speaking of the Cardinals, if I could just kind of switch the question a little bit,
go ahead.
I think this is going to be a big year for a certain Honey Badger, because Tyrann Mathieu started off great as an Arizona Cardinal. The first 2 years were outstanding. He got paid a lot of money, and then now the past 2 years has kind of dealt with injuries and. I don't know. I don't know if it's his size coming back to get him because he's a smaller dude. He's one of the best football players I've ever seen defensively when he's healthy. But I think his size is still kind of starting to get to him a little bit. So I think this is kind of his make or break year because if he gets injured for a third straight year, then we're looking at problems at quarterback, we're looking at problems at receiver, and then you're looking at the secondary when you need to repair that as well. So those are three of the biggest things in football that you need to fix. And if you have to fix those, you're probably not going to win a whole lot of games.
Yeah, last year was a real big it was a huge disappointment for Arizona. I feel, they went to the NFC title game. Yeah, they lost to 51 Panthers in the title game, but that's the 51 Panthers. Everybody beat them except the Falcons. I had such high expectations for Arizona, especially going to that first game, facing Jimmy Garoppolo, and then they just got torched. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But let's switch over to some baseball. The Cubs won their first World Series last year, 108 years. Came to 3-1 lead over the Indians. Great World Series. Probably the best I've seen.
Yeah.
Do you think they can repeat? Is there a chance that they repeat?
I mean, I think you'd probably have to say that they're the favorites.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Because you look all up and down that roster. It was the whole dream, like Theo Epstein's dream. We're building to this year. It's always going to be this year. That was the whole Chicago Cubs joke. It's next year. It's going to be our year. Next year. And then it finally was. And now they have this team that is almost unbeatable top to bottom. I think they have one of the most complete rosters from the 1 spot to the 9 spot. I don't think I see right now, and we're saying this right now in late March, and the World Series is played in October, so a lot can obviously happen. But if we were going to crown a paper champ right now, I don't see how you don't pick Chicago to win another World Series.
And watching the World Series last year, I saw something. It was Kyle Schwarber. Now, Kyle Schwarber tore his ACL last March, and that was it for him last season. He wasn't supposed to come back. And what does he do? In October, he comes back. He winds up being the hero for the Cubs in the World Series. That's the one guy I'm looking at. But you just remind me of something. Theo Epstein keeps saying this is the year. Last year was the year, and now he did the same thing with Boston. They won 2 or 3 World Series titles with Boston. So now thinking about that just makes you think, the Cubs obviously have to be the favorites to win the World Series. But I'm feeling they could win multiple World Series under Theo Epstein, like he did in Boston.
It's the exact same. It's the exact same formula that it was in Boston. He went to Boston, had a lot of success there, kind of set up a mini dynasty, and now he's done it to a city and a team that people thought it literally could not be. Like, it was historically proven there is not a chance this team is going to play any games in October whatsoever. And he broke the curse. The curse in sports.
Yes.
He broke that. So there is nothing that this man can't do, as far as I'm concerned. So the Cubs are going to be, I think, the power in baseball for the next 2, 3, 4 years, easily.
I'm totally on board with that. I'll talk about this right after our interview. I feel like a lot of teams have talent, but there's no real competition for Chicago.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think Chicago is just so far ahead of everybody else. And, that's the great thing about baseball, because, the whole 7-game format in the playoffs is supposed to prove who really is the best team. Right. In football, I mean, it'd be impossible to play 7 football games. But in football, it's a one and done, right? And in baseball, you have the 7-game format. You're supposed to find out who really is the best. And I don't see anybody beating the Cubs in 7 games.
So you have the Cubs win the World Series this year?
Yeah, as of right now, 100%.
And who do you think they could play in the American League?
Oh man, I think it'd have to be Cleveland again, because Cleveland. Really? Let's not forget. I mean, we all get distracted with Golden State blowing their 3-1 lead, but Cleveland had that World Series won.
Yes,
Cleveland was up 3-1 on the Chicago Cubs, and they choked it away. So I don't see how they couldn't do it again. I think that would be the ultimate grudge match. That'd probably be the World Series. Honestly, I'd probably be most intrigued to see is a rematch between the Indians and the Cubs, because the Indians will forever go into history as the team that A, choked away the 3-1 World Series and choked away a 3-1 lead in the World Series, B, broke the curse, or the team that the curse got broken against.
Right.
So I think that would be a great grudge match. I think that'd be a really, really fun 7 games. And right now, that's who I see going and playing in October, November against the Cubs in the World Series as of right now.
That would be something. That would definitely be something. Hopefully we get that. We get another Cubs-Indians 7-game series where game time, 3 home runs, hitting the 8th or whatever it was. Oh, that was amazing. Yeah. Let's get that again this year.
That was one of the best Game 7s, I think, in sports history.
Yes, it had to have been. And let's stick with baseball here. I wanted to talk about this earlier, but we ended up with time. What's up with your Diamondbacks? I mean, last year they got Zach Greinke, and they had some. I don't know too much of the Diamondbacks. You probably know more than I do.
I'll tell you what.
What's wrong with them?
Diamondbacks have made a lot of gambly moves, especially last year. The Diamondbacks traded Ender Inciarte, a very capable outfielder, starting quality, and the number 1 draft pick of the 2015 draft, Dansby Swanson, who at the time was in AA, for a starting pitcher, Shelby Miller from the Atlanta Braves. And he was supposed to be the number 2. The Diamondbacks were supposed to have one of the best 1-2 punches in the National League, with Greinke, who they signed for $200 million, mind you, and then Shelby Miller, number 2. And, I mean, to put it most briefly, Shelby Miller did not finish the 2016 season in the major leagues. I mean, let's just leave it at that. He finished in AAA Reno.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's how, I mean, he would get rocked start after start after start after start. And it pains me to see this, because it looks like he's going to be the number 2 again this year. He's been saying in spring training that his arm's been feeling better, that this, that, and the other thing. I don't know. I'm very, very skeptical. Greinke, even last year, got rocked, too, after having the best career, or the best career year, or the best year of his career, if I could say that correctly. Comes to Arizona. It's just an Arizona curse, I guess. Comes to Arizona and has like an ERA of like 3 or plus 3 or 4, a whip probably within the 1s or the 2s. It was to have that was probably, I don't know which was worse, the hype going into the Cardinal season, or the potential hype, because the Diamondbacks in 2015 were not expected to do anything. They were saying they'd be lucky if they get 60 wins. They're going to lose 100, and then they finished like 1 or 2 games under 500 with a pretty mediocre roster. So as a fan base, that's exciting. And then the very next season, you make all these big moves, and then you finished next to last in the division.
Oh yeah.
Not even the playoff race was over by the All-Star break. It was not.
What I remember seeing they signed Zach Greinke. I was like, oh my god, watch out for Diamondbacks. And then they did terrible. But in their defense, though, the NL West, in my eyes, is the worst division in baseball. So.
No, it is. It probably, it definitely is. The Diamondbacks were god awful last year, and they didn't even finish last in the division. So I'm pretty sure they swept the Rockies in the last series of the season to finish 4th in the division.
Wow, nice, impressive.
Yeah.
Joran Palacio, my co-host of This Week in AFL, recording the season premiere this Thursday on W2M.com. You were amazing today. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. It's always a pleasure to come on.
Sweet. Talk again Thursday, man.
Yep.
I love Joran Palacio. Oh my god, when I first met him, he was recruited by Scott Soares, owner of the AFLFanzone.com. And I needed a co-host to come on my show on the This Week in the AFL thing with me. It says I need more voices. It was me, Eric Watkins, and Dylan Goldman. And I want a different voice. So I figured bring him on as a guest, and I just fell in love with this. If things worked out the way I hope they do in 5-10 years' time, I'm Colin Cowherd. He's Nick Wright. Like, we are going to be like best friends. That's how things would be. It's amazing. And he has a point. Cubs Indians would be a great series. And I don't think there is anybody that could beat Chicago this year. Kyle Schwarber, John Lester, Joe Madden's their coach. He took Tampa Bay to the World Series. Tampa Bay. He took Tampa to the World Series. Granted, it was almost 10 years ago. He took Tampa to the World Series. All right, we'll wrap up the show next. SCU Show.
Hello to all you Arena League football fans out there. I want to personally welcome you to join us, AFL Fan Zone, every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a weekly recap of all things AFL. You got stuff to do on the weekends, which means you probably don't have time to sit down and watch every single game every week. That's where AFL Fan Zone comes in. Not only do we break down the week, but we provide you with everything you need to stay up to date with the AFL, including Players of the Week, Power Rankings, and the weekly standings. Best part is, the recap is fully interactive between the viewers and the host. Just search AFL Fan Zone on YouTube and you can find all of our archived videos, including game previews, recaps, and weekly updates. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and at our website at www.aflfanzone.com. AFL Fan Zone, your internet home for the best AFL fans.
Hi, I'm Donovan James, and welcome to the Don James High School Football Report, everybody, where we discuss and debate the hottest prep and college football recruiting topics in the country every week. Only here on NGSC Sports, 9:30 Eastern. For more, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports.
It's game time, boys, and we know football. Football the Max is the podcast for you if you want in-depth analysis over the NFL and college football. We preview all the action coming your way over the weekend. And we break down all the big action after it's happened. Plus, we tackle all the big news topics and discuss everything when it comes to the gridiron. So come check out Football to the Max every Tuesday morning and Friday morning on the W2M network.
Are you an arena football fan looking for the latest news involving your team? Inside the Arena has you covered. Check us out for the latest news around both the Arena Football League and the Chinese Arena Football League. Read all of our stellar articles at InsideTheArena.org. Also, follow us on Twitter at Inside_Arena and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/InsideTheArena.
Welcome back to the SCU Show. I'm your host, SCU. Joran Palacio killed it. My God, every time I hear him talk on my show or elsewhere, he kills it. He has a new thing coming out. I'm not sure what it's about. Pretty sure it's about girls soccer. It's about Perry 320 something. Follow him at Joran Palacio I believe it's Joran _Palacio 16. Check him out. He's promoting this really nice video. I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. Then him and I will have a discussion about it sometime next month when he comes back on the show. But I think I was telling him the NL West is the worst division of baseball. The best team in there is the Dodgers, and they have nothing. They have Clayton Kershaw, Yasiel Puig. And I say this a lot of teams. Mets have Syndergaard and Cespedes. Boston has Mookie Betts and Chris Sale. I mean, it's just a bunch of two-man teams. Lots of two-man teams. And the Dodgers aren't one of them, and they're the best. They're literally the best team in the NL West. A two-man team is the best team in the NL West. And like I told Jordan, like he told me, the Diamondbacks are nothing. The Giants, I used to be a big fan of the San Francisco Giants. Now, they're really bad. They got rid of their best pitcher, who's not even a great pitcher anymore. And Tim Lincecum, God, he was so phenomenal. I even liked the way he pitched the ball. Like he'd pitch it like it was like the way he pitched. If you ever watched Tim Lincecum pitch, you know what I'm talking about. It was just something unique. I don't know what it was about him, but it was unique. I don't know what it was, but it was unique. And then they got rid of him. I don't even know who he's with anymore. Last I checked, he was with the Los Angeles Angels. I don't know if he's there anymore. I don't know. And then you have the Rockies. But I was a huge fan of Trevor Story. He got injured. It was unfortunate that he got injured early in the season last year. He was on a very hot streak. So but even if he has a hot streak this year, doesn't mean the Diamondbacks didn't do great. They need more than just Trevor Story to be successful. And then, like I've said all pretty much throughout the episode that San Diego Padres are garbage. Hot garbage. The Padres are just a mess. It's bad. It'll continue to be bad for the Padres. I remember when I did SCU Wally back in 2015. I talked about how they got rid of James Shields, and I was like, oh my god, Sam Shields. It was James Shields. I was like, oh my god, this guy was once a star pitcher. Then they got Matt Kemp. He's in Atlanta. Talk about that a sec. I mean, I was just like, oh my god, what is wrong with this team? Like they had to pick up the starters and do nothing with them. They were like the Jaguars of baseball. The Padres were like the Jacksonville Jaguars of baseball. Just terrible. It's going to get worse before it gets better for Padres fans. I hate to tell you. Hosted a great All-Star game last year. Home run derby was great, but your team sucks. Sorry. No, I just talked real bad about the NL West. I'm going to talk real good about the NL East. Because it's good stuff going on right there. Like I said, the Mets have Cespedes and Syndergaard, two talented players, and the Mets are going to finish last place in the division, probably. It's possible that they could finish last place in the division. They have Jonas Cespedes and Noah Syndergaard. Not my favorite team in the division, but they're one of my favorite teams overall. Marlins. Past two seasons, they've just been unfortunate losing Carlos Stanton to injury, especially during the time of June. If Carlos Stanton stays healthy, they're going to be very happy to have him in their lineup the whole season because he is the centerpiece for that team. He's the centerpiece. Big part of that team, but he's not. He's the biggest part of that team. But there's other players. There's Justin Bohr. He's a home run machine. I remember when I did MSL back My Sports Lifestyle. Back in 2015, Justin Bohr was a guy I kept a close eye on because he kept performing pretty well. I was impressed with what I saw. D. Gordon coming off a Golden Glove season from last year. Suzuki's still on that team. Ichiro Suzuki. Hall of Famer. 3,000. The one problem with the Marlins is that they need pitching. Now, may Jose Fernandez rest in peace. Drugs, he's never done drugs, man. So sad. They have to work on the pitching. I don't know the next great pitcher for the Marlins. The only guy real news Jose because Marlins hosted Jose Day for this guy. It was such a shame that what happened to him back in September. Such a shame. He's missed. He'll be missed, most definitely. But now the Marlins have to move forward. They have to look at what can we do? What can we do to make things better? Because obviously we need to fix our pitching. Because that's gonna be huge right there, the pitching. They have good offense, they have good defense, they just need good pitching. They don't really have that. Now my favorite team is in the NL East is the Washington Nationals. I've been paying attention to baseball for about 2 years now. And my favorite team has always been the Nationals. I remember doing Blue Coat Radio at Middlesex County College with my then co-host, Darren Williamson. We talked a lot about baseball. We talked a lot of baseball. He was a big Mets fan, and I watched the Nationals when I first started watching baseball. Paid attention to them. I was like, wow. And the last 2 seasons, I remember I kept saying, especially back in 2015, I was like, I want the Nationals to win the World Series. I have a feeling they're so talented. I want them to win the World Series. And it would be awesome to see them World. And here we are again. In 2017, I would love to see the Nationals win the World Series. I feel like to see me Nats Cubs into the NLCS. That can go either way. And then we go from there. Whichever team makes for the NL will be great for baseball. They have Steven Strasburg and Matt Scherzer. They have Bryce Harper. They just got Daniel Murphy from the Mets. Daniel Murphy's a stud. Great leader, great player. He gets to play with talent such as Bryce Harper and Jason Worth. I can't wait to see the Nationals play this year. Now that I live in Virginia, I've lived in Virginia for the past 10 months. I get more Nationals games on television. So you don't think about you better believe it. I'm going to be watching more games. Even the Braves look like they could do something. They got Bartolo, and last year they were like second worst team behind San Diego. They got Bartolo Colon from the Mets. They got Brandon Phillips from Cincinnati. R.A. Dickey, Matt Kemp. It's like the Braves are trying to build a super team right now. It's like they're trying to build a super team. They feel like, we're gonna get all these great players and we're gonna compete again. Well, it could work out. I hope it works out for them to be good for baseball. So, the NL West is a bad division. The NL East is on the rise. Other than that, those are all this talent in the NL East. There's not much. And the Yankees, this is going to be a pretty boring baseball season. There are like 3 teams that could compete for the title. For pretty much like 3 teams. There's not much. You get the Nats, you get the Yankees, you got the Cubs. That is 3 teams right there off the bat that I can think of. The gang's all here. I can't think of much of anybody else. And like I said, there's a lot of teams have two good teams. There's a lot of 2 guy teams in baseball. And you get everybody else on the teams like, who's that? Never heard of them. Who dat? And there's not one team that everybody will be watching this year. Except the Cubs, because obviously the Cubs have won first World Series in 108 years. And that's history. We've witnessed history. A lot of people have not witnessed this. So everyone's going to be like, oh, I want the Cubs. A lot of people are rooting for the Cubs to repeat after winning the first one in 108 years. Other than that, we're not going to say that. Not much people are going to watch one team. I feel like it's going to be a pretty crappy baseball season, even going into the playoffs. We're going to have all these nice walk-offs. We're going to have all these home runs and grand slams, and stolen bases, and extra innings. Fine and dandy. But when it comes down to October, there will probably not be much excitement. Joran Palacio came on earlier, and he said Cubs-Indians World Series. I don't know much about the Indians. I know the Cubs could make it. But I don't have either of those teams in the World Series this year. My World Series prediction? Washington Nationals, New York Yankees. I said it earlier in the show. I'm very bent on the Yankees right now. It's been a few years since I've been able to be this confident in the Yankees. I'm so confident I feel like they can go to the World Series. Unfortunately, I do have the Nationals winning it all. I have a feeling the Nationals are the most talented team in baseball right now. And I have a feeling outside of Chicago, nobody else can beat them. Even the Yankees, even with their talent. But it could be a good World Series though. You have Yankees offense against the Nationals defense. Great matchup right there. It's a great matchup. So to recap the show, Raiders are going to Vegas. I don't like it because Vegas is not a sports town. That's a town where people go to gamble and drink. Mario Tovar, the Raiders Ramble, joined us. He's very, whatever, I'm going to still be a Raiders fan about the whole situation. So he doesn't really care that I'm going to Vegas. It is what it is to him. Hope Oakland stays classy about this. Don't be Cleveland when LeBron left for Miami in 2010. Don't do that. Don't burn jerseys. Don't boo your team. This has been your team since 1994? Don't boo them. Don't be classy, huh? Unfortunately for Oakland, though, you guys are going down. Yankees are impressive. They can win the East if they beat the Blue Jays. Joran Palacio spit so much fire. I can't wait for Thursday now. That just made me more excited for Thursday. We're going to have a lot of guests on this week in the AFL this Thursday. But the NL, his Diamondbacks and the NL West are a pretty bad team. And to wrap it all up, I have the Nationals beat the Yankees. I give it 6 games in the World Series in October. So this is the final episode of the SCU Show before baseball season starts. It's supposed to be full on baseball, but I mean, I can't really talk. Who could talk baseball so much? Except MLB Network guys. It's not easy. So that's going to do it for this week. Enjoy your baseball. We will be back here next week as we get ready for the NFL Draft. One of my favorite times of the year. Good night, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.